Hello and welcome to Meet the Tech Titans, which is brought to you by Hutch, and of course, it is an 8-part podcast series where we're bringing individuals, of course, in the tech industry, voices that, of course, have been out there, voices that are influential in the tech industry, speaking to individuals in different expertise. As far as the tech industry, the digital world industry is concerned. And it's of course brought to you by Hutch, and a big thank you to Hutch for coming on board for this thought leadership program and the pod series, which it's going to be beneficial for so many individuals out there. Doesn't matter what industry in the technological world that you like to get into, there are so many great thought leaders out there who've got different insights. And just like the world of technology, what you see today is not going to be there tomorrow. Things are changing so fast, and by the time you get into an industry, it's a completely different ballgame altogether. Now today we got another very interesting individual on the show with us, and it's lovely to actually have someone from the financial sector of Sri Lanka to come on board. And we've got Randil Boteju. He is the Chief Digital Officer at Nations Trust Bank. Randil, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's going to be a great chat because we're going to basically pick your brains into different aspects as far as digital banking is concerned, and where is Sri Lanka going forward as far as digital banking is concerned. Now, Randil, you've been, of course, in digital banking, and of course, you are the Chief Digital Officer. Let's just talk about where digital banking is today, right now, and where do you basically see it? Have we made leaps and bounds in terms of changes maybe 5 years ago to where we are right now?
Yeah, I think 5 years ago to now, it has significantly changed.
Right.
And I'm sure the COVID, as well as, staying at home and working from home culture, all that influenced this as well. So significant, I think it's about closer to 1,000+ % growth in terms of financial transactions if you compare the last 5 years.
Right.
And also digital banking per se, people expect digital banking to be the way they want it to be.
Right.
I think as you know, everybody's exposed to different types of international payment systems. They travel overseas, and I think everybody's wanting the same type of convenience from a banking point of view. So it has significantly evolved. Also, I think first point you asked, whether it has reached the actual potential or not. I think still no.
Right.
There is a lot more to drive and grow in this country. I think obviously, there are a lot of people and processors, as well as platforms to collaborate to do that.
Right.
But I think if you also ask the question, are we ready for that sort of take off given the environment? I think yes.
Oh, that's good.
Right, because I think most of the institutions, most of the companies, most of the platforms, I think just to give an example, I think at a country level we have closer to 28 or 29 apps for a country like us.
Right.
29 apps is a
payment gateway
basically payment apps on the phone.
Payment apps, right.
So obviously we are ready for the penetration,
right.
but different reasons have pulled us back, in my view.
Right. Now, I mean, we obviously want to get into some of these reasons. I mean, let's just talk about some stuff that we can actually talk about. We had a very candid conversation before we actually started, because obviously at the end of the day, everybody out there wants to push Sri Lanka in terms of digital transformation. We need to be, where we should be in 2030, 2040, and so on and so forth. But one good thing that you said is we're ready for the transformation, and we just need to make sure that all green lights are sort of blinking at the same time. But in terms of human behavior in Sri Lanka, comparatively to the rest of the world as far as digital banking is concerned, are we still slow to adapt to it?
Yeah, I think answer is yes. However, I think some of the other countries which has had significant growth in the digital transaction space had always a little bit of push from different sources. Example, our closest country, India, when it went from a fully cash economy to a digital economy within a week,
right,
because of the demonetization and things like that.
Right.
And some of the other countries having a lot of regulation or push towards digital.
Right.
Actually helped them to go digital suddenly,
Right.
at a rapid pace. In Sri Lanka, we've not had that sort of significant event or a significant push from a consumer point of view to get pushed towards digital and for digital to be the only option sort of structure. But I think overall, still the cash economy is still there. When you go out,
Yeah.
anybody will ask, you order a tuk-tuk today or, any or for anything for that matter, you ask card or cash.
That's right.
But I think the actual issue there is that the ecosystem, which example, an individual who drives a three-wheeler would want cash over card, because when he goes back home, the cycle of payments or the process of other payments for him is cash.
Is
still,
cash.
right?
Right.
So he'll normally want cash.
Right.
So the push is for cash in that context.
Right.
But I think from with some of the use cases that, the example, the government, the central bank, and some of the other institutions are pushing, when some of the use cases go live, I think there'll be a reason to be digital.
Right.
So I think that is something that all of us are pushing as an industry, as as individuals, as you said, you want Sri Lanka to go digital.
Yeah.
Right. And that
I mean,
is something.
Sri Lanka wants Sri Lanka to go digital.
Of course, I think so. Somebody was talking to me about I said, and he was saying, why should you go digital? This is fine. I said, why not? Because going forward, if we go digital, and I believe personally that is the only way forward.
Right.
For Sri Lanka to significantly grow.
Right.
Right. And I think any country which has grown significantly, the biggest process which has got impacted or grown first is the payments and the digital ecosystems.
Right.
So I think that is where I think everybody is focusing on to push that through.
Now, you did say, as far as India was concerned, that the demonetization was a huge deal. And like you said, it happened overnight. Literally, it happened overnight, and it didn't give them a choice but to go digital. Do you not think that COVID was an instrument we should have ridden on to push the digital transformation?
Yes. But I think a slight difference there was when COVID hit. You asked me previously whether Sri Lanka is ready now.
Yeah.
So I said it is ready now.
Right.
But just after COVID, when you came back, whether Sri Lanka was 100% ready, I don't think so.
Okay.
Right. Predominantly because there were lack of platforms, only a few institutions had platforms by that time.
Right.
So it took a little bit of time. Most of them actually started after COVID or with COVID, right?
Of course.
So when they wanted something to adapt to,
right,
they didn't have the same expectation or basically the same or delivery of what they wanted. So
right.
I think it took a little bit of time. But, I agree to the fact that if we were, example, when demonetization happened, India was ready.
Yeah.
Paytm was there, a lot of things were there. When after COVID, Sri Lanka was 50-50,
yeah,
right? So, and most of them came back to cash, right? So I think that's what happened.
Come to think of it, in hindsight, if COVID didn't happen, we still would have been basically back there.
Yeah, so I think it would have been, still yes, but I think, and the cost for implementation for digital also would have been much higher if not for COVID.
Right.
But I still believe that with the current initiatives as well as some of the people who are pushing this digitization process, I still believe if and when that all the use cases start going live, Sri Lanka is now ready to do that. And I'm sure one thing that what we've seen is that all the customers are exposed to things.
That's true.
Right. An example, now this program is sponsored by Hutch. I think, example, any consumer who gets up in the morning, right, would look at the phone.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing else. Right.
Right.
And that would be the first thing that they look at, not the person who's sleeping next to you or anybody else. You look at the phone,
Right.
who has texted you, all that. So as well as when they log in to the phone, they'll look at what the experience that they get on Facebook to Spotify to all that. They don't compare you anymore as a local company or a local platform. They'll compare you against these global platforms.
Right.
Right. So I think the expectation is there from a consumer point of view, is my view. Right. So I think all the banks, the financial institutions, everybody has to strive to get here.
Right.
Right. So that you deliver the same type of convenience to the consumer, and adoption will be easier. Right. And a telco would also want to ensure that whole process gets continued.
Yeah, it's more like end to end for them.
Exactly. So
Right.
I think that is that's a positive.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you did speak about 28 payment apps that are actually available. Now, FreeMe is one of them, which of course is under your umbrella. And how does the customization options like FreeMe's contribute to customer satisfaction, which is basically we also want to find out. Let's start with that question.
Sure.
We can have a follow up on that.
So I think whether we like it or not, since the world has become smaller, personalization also is a key thing.
That's right.
And the new generation would want them to be identified as individuals.
Right.
So they want to ensure, or they want platforms that they can customize themselves. They want platforms which are relevant to them and not a generic one. Right. So what we've done on FreeMe point of view is that we've had a lot of chats and discussions with that sort of consumer segments, and realize that there is widgets that you can move around, have your own type of blending screen, different type of fonts to dark mode, light mode, as well as customized payment methods, request money, and just put a mobile number and start paying. That sort of ecosystem is created for that.
Right. Right.
To ensure that we have a product which will cater to a required customer segment. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting that you spoke about the personalization of FreeMe. In terms on the other side is your banking apps, and of course looking at how financial institutions like Nations Trust Bank and all the other banks that are in Sri Lanka at the moment, they also need to become more of a lifestyle-centric bank. I mean, like you said, their apps, for example, an NTB app coming in the future should reflect me. Because I don't want something that basically you will see the same app or somebody else will see the same app, which I believe also is something that becomes more lifestyle and in terms of what I want to see, what I want to buy.
Yes.
What I want to buy could be different with what my friend wants to buy.
Yes.
Are we moving towards there?
Yes. So I think with a lot of AI and things like that also coming in to banking, as well as there are a lot of platforms, which example, we use a certain platform to customize based on the customer behavior. Right. Example, you will not get the same offer compared to somebody else.
Right.
And based on your travel itinerary, you will be direct to something else rather than another customer to something that he wants to do. But also with AI coming in, AI is a big word, and everybody talks about AI. But I think
it's a buzzword.
but I think the specific journeys which will be relevant to your customer, right, is something that which will get implemented, very soon with some other which based on the industry knowledge that I have got exposed to. So I think those sort of things will actually drive personalization to a different level, and I'm pretty confident that Sri Lanka will have a few of those. Very in the very near future, as well as now as well. So I think that's happening.